Hey, what's up guys? mltmagictricks here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Aaron Crow's audition danger act that he performed on America's Got Talent. And if you guys have not seen the performance already, I will be leaving the link in the description to it. And in this video, I'm basically going to be talking about why this act may not have been as dangerous as it seemed to be, and I'm going to be backing up the claims that I make with evidence from his actual act. But before we get into all that, if you are new here to my channel, make sure you subscribe for all of the America's Got Talent reveal videos, and I also post card and magic trick videos on my channel as well. But anyways guys, let's get right into it. So I'm first going to talk about an earpiece theory. And so if Aaron was in fact wearing an earpiece throughout this act, this could have allowed him to communicate with someone off stage, and this person who's off stage would have been giving him directions and instructions, as to where he was on stage and how close he was to the two spectators, and Howie when he was slicing the bag, breaking through the board and then slicing the pineapple on Howie's head. And there are in fact a lot of earpieces out there that are small enough to the point where we would not be able to see them in someone's ear. And if Aaron was wearing an earpiece, the editors of America's Got Talent would have been careful when putting together his performance, because they would not want to, focus on his ear so we, the audience, could see the earpiece. So that's just something to keep in mind here. If he was wearing an earpiece, this act would have been less dangerous than it actually was. And also, there was a piece of, evidence in his performance that may have suggested that he was wearing an earpiece. And so I'm going to draw your guys' attention to the part of his performance where he instructs the girl that's holding the bag to raise it up. This kind of, raises a red flag here, because he obviously cannot see. He uses the wax to, close his eyes. He wraps his eyes, twice, and then he puts a tinfoil over it. So obviously, Aaron cannot see it all throughout his performance. And it just kind of raises the question as to why he's telling her to raise the bag if he cannot see. So that kind of leads me to believe that he may have actually been wearing an earpiece. The person, who's communicating to him could have told Aaron to, tell the girl to raise the bag a little bit, because that is where he was expecting to hit the bag. So that is, a kind of important piece of evidence from his act that proves he was maybe wearing an earpiece. So now I'm going to talk about the candle that was in the middle of the stage. So obviously the candle, he uses the wax to close his eyes, but the candle may have been used for another reason. So you guys will notice here from the screenshot, in this part of the performance where he's about to go to Howie to slice the pineapple, he kind of raises his hand near the candle here. And what he may have been doing, he could have used the heat from the flame to get a sense of direction as to where he was on stage. But obviously guys, if he was using the heat from the flame to get a sense of direction as to where he was on stage, he probably did not have an earpiece then, because it wouldn't really make sense as to why he would be, getting a sense of direction on stage from the flame if someone off stage was communicating to him to where he was. So this flame theory I have kind of contradicts the point of him wearing an earpiece. So if he was in fact using the flame to get a sense of direction, then he most likely wasn't wearing an earpiece. But obviously guys, he could have just been sticking his hand out there just, for part of his performance. It could have just been a coincidence. So if this was in fact a coincidence, then the earpiece theory does in fact, I think, make the most sense. So that is something else to keep in mind here. And now I'm going to be talking about the placement of the spectators that he had. So obviously they may not have been two spectators, they very well may have been his assistants, but regardless, you guys will notice Aaron takes them to specific spots on the stage, and he does this for a reason. So he brings them to the specific spots, and what he could have done here is basically, before he goes on stage and stuff and performs the act, he's going to be doing a lot of practice. He probably practiced on that specific stage, and there may have been markers on the stage itself. And what Aaron could have done is he could have, measured how many steps it takes to get from the candle, it's on that table in the middle. He could have measured how many steps it takes to get from the table to each of the spectators. So when he, is taking steps over there, he could basically, count them, and then he's going to get a good idea of where these people are, the two assistants, and then Howie, who is on the other side with the pineapple on his head. So that's something else to think about. He could have used the markers on stage and the placement of the assistants and Howie to get an idea of where he is when he's walking around the stage completely blindfolded. So obviously if that is the case, and he has someone telling him where he is, that is going to make this act a little bit less dangerous. But guys, don't get me wrong, this still was a very dangerous act, and I'm not taking away anything from Aaron's performance. I think he did a great job. It was a great act and everything. But obviously if someone is communicating with him and telling him where he is on stage, and he's going to already know the distance from the table to the people, and that would have made it a little bit less dangerous. But regardless, he is using a sharp sword, and he's swinging at Howie's head, and that is just complete danger in itself. And now I'm going to be talking about the pineapple and, you know, the bag and the board. So those three targets themselves are sort of big, and there's kind of a lot of, you know, different places to hit. So definitely for the bag, the girl's holding it out in front of her, so he could have, you know, easily hit that. And then the board, the guy's holding the edges, and the board is somewhat big. So if someone's off stage is telling him, okay, get in this position and then swing down. And obviously, he's going to be practicing this. So for the board and the bag, that is not going to be too difficult to basically hit with the nunchucks, knife, and sword. So that is also something to keep in mind if he is, you know, getting instructions from someone off stage. There are quite a few places where he can hit where he won't miss when he is hitting the bag, the board, and the pineapple on Howie's head. And finally, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background as to who Aaron is. And, you know, he has, in fact, performed this exact act before. He performed this same routine on Britain's Got Talent 5 years ago in an audition episode. And if you guys want to check that out, I'll be leaving the link in the description. So this tells us that he's been performing this act for a while. He's obviously familiar with it. He has practiced a bunch. And that fact itself kind of takes away from the danger just a little, considering he has practiced a bunch with the, you know, the sword, the knife, and the nunchucks. But regardless, guys, this still was a dangerous act, even if he had someone off stage giving him instructions as to where he was on stage. I just kind of wanted to address those things in this video here, so you guys can keep that in mind when you watch this act. But that is basically going to do it for this video. Right now, I'm going to do a quick summary of the points I made. So first, with the earpiece, he could have had a very small earpiece where no one saw. Then he would have gotten instructions as to where he was on stage. And the back of this theory is the part of his performance where he instructed the girl to raise the bag despite him being completely blindfolded. And then the candle, he could have got a sense of direction from the heat generated from the flame. But if that was the case, he was doing that, it wouldn't really make sense for him then to be wearing an earpiece. And then for the the placement of the spectators, he could have measured out how many steps it takes to get to the girl, the guy, and then Howie. And then he could have, practiced obviously hitting the correct spots to hit the bag, the board, and the pineapple correctly. And guys, the final thing I'm going to talk about here is the danger factor involved with the, circumstances of Howie being a judge and him being involved in this act. So I'm sure the producers of the show and everything, they talked with Aaron before about him using, a sword. And obviously, guys, the producers of the show and everything want to make sure that Howie is 100% safe during this act, because obviously if something goes wrong and Howie gets hurt, that can negatively affect America's Got Talent going forward. It can really screw up the show. So that is something else to think about here. Producers of the show and everything made sure that this act was safe enough for Howie to participate, or else if it was completely dangerous and there was a chance of Howie possibly dying, they probably would not have allowed Aaron to, do this performance. So that is basically going to do it for this video. Please let me know what you guys think about everything I talked about here. Do you think I'm right? Do you agree with me? Let me know if you think he did use an earpiece. Let me know if you think he utilized the candle in the middle to get a sense of direction as to where he was on stage. But that is going to do it. Once more time, guys, make sure to subscribe if you are new here to the channel for all of these America's Got Talent reveals. And I also post card and magic trick videos on my channel as well. So if you guys are into card matching and all that stuff, make sure you do subscribe, because I do teach card tricks on my channel as well. But that is going to do it for this video. If you like the video, leave it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Peace out.